Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Maze and I'm here for you with the succ Drak PVE guide. Succ Drak is a high AoE burst damage class and it requires below average APM to play effectively. Let's dive right in by looking at which skills to lock and which skill enhancements or Rabams to choose. The first skill to lock is Slayer Training. This is your auto attack, you don't need it, keep it locked. Second one is Flow Asphyxiate. You don't really need this skill, it doesn't do much damage, and it interferes with some inputs, so keep it locked. And then the third and optional lock is Omnislash. This used to be a very essential skill in the past, because it was our only DP shred, but now our DP shred is on Brimbolt Raise, so this is not necessary for that purpose. Still, if you really need a filler to fill some gaps, then you can unlock it. For skill enhancements or Rabams, I recommend Soaring Claw and to a lesser degree Abyssal Advance. Dragon's Assault or Eviscerating Wings are not really used in PvE. Soaring Claw is nice because you can use it in combination with the Magnus skill to perform a combo we call Rabagnus. It is quick burst damage. Abyssal Advance is nice because it gives you movement speed and you can use it in between packs. Critical hit rate is not that important for this class, as its skills are mostly 100% crit rate, but it's still nice to have. Here's some generic add-ons that you can use in most spots in the game. These are the most important skills in the kit, and they take part in our priority list that we're going to talk about later. The most important one is Brimbolt Raise, which is your DP shred, so doubling down on that's always a good idea. And having a second one just for backup on Brimbolt Strike. These are all high level add-ons or high tier add-ons, so they'll be up 99% of the time. Succ Drak is one of the safest classes in the game for PvE. She has 4 PVE iframes: Refraction, Dragon's Advance, Markthanen's Wings, and Dragon Walk. She has self-healing DPS skills with a mix of frontal guards and super armors, like Sundering Claw, Brimbolt Strike, Markthanen's Flourish, and Eviscerate, being the main ones. She also has a PA with healing, which can be used in emergencies to become both invulnerable and also heal up, which is Shift Q. You can read the Markthanen's Heart's passive to learn more about the healing characteristics. When you hover over it, you'll see the Succession version on the left. The one on the right is for Awakening. But on the left, you'll see that she heals up 500 HP with all the skills I mentioned, up to 12 times. It can get you up to 60% of your health very quickly. In combination with your Harmony Draughts, you're going to be healing up constantly during a fight. Succ Drak has burst mobility skills. She can perform long movement chains without interruptions, and I'll show you a sample in no particular order. Now usually you don't have to move this far in PvE, so what we usually do instead is use double space for our Markthanen's Wings, and then we chain it with WE or Shift F depending on what kind of engage we want to do. So here's double space, WE, and then double space, Shift F. You can also do the same with WF, which is Dragon's Advance. So you can do WF and then WE, and then wait for the cooldown, and then WF and then Shift F. One very important thing in the game right now are back attacks. Knowing how to reposition quickly for back attacks and follow-up skills has become more important than ever. With Succ Drak, I recommend 2 different methods. If Blazing Strike, which is SRMB, is off cooldown, then you can use Dragon Walk to get behind mobs and then use that for following through with other skills. You can also use the E-cancel after Dragon Walk to follow up with any other skill, like so. Now let's talk about the most important part of this guide, the skill DPS priority list. shown on the left. To maximize efficiency while grinding, I recommend following this list of Freestyle Combo. Sticking to a single combo will drag down your efficiency with this class, similar to Awakened Witch or Succession Dark Knight. In this priority list, we have ordered skills by descending damage output. One exception to this is Brimbolt Raise, which is the skill on the top right, and it's our DP Shred. It should be used only when mobs need debuffing. Feel free to pause this video now to screenshot the list. Any skills not shown on this list are fillers. RMBE are skills we use to get quick top-ups on ions. SLMB is for Omnislash, which we talked about earlier. We only unlock and use that skill where we really need filler skills. And finally F, if you're under the AP cap, F is your AP buff, and it's also useful as a cleanup of mobs with very low health. Now let's do a little bit of freestyling with our DPS priority list here on the left. As you can see, I'm using RMBE in the middle just to get ions back, but I'm constantly trying to use skills as they come off cooldown. Sometimes I have to use everything, and then sometimes not everything. I didn't have to use Dominion that time. Now let's talk about crystals. In front of me is the crystal setup I use for places where I'm over the cap. As you know, there was a recent update to PVE where going over the cap now has no benefit. Not really. So usually we slot in BSR crystals, as many of them as we can, to get BSR uptime. It works really nicely with this class because the attack speed really helps. That's also another reason that we have 2 Alukas when we're above the cap, so we get extra 2% attack speed. But if you're not over the cap, then you would go with a setup similar to this, with all the best in slot crystals. The only thing that might change would be getting some resistance crystals instead if you're in a spot where there's stun or knockdown, like Dekia Ash Forest or the Etherian Castle, so you could replace 2 Macalods with resists and go that way. Now let's take a look at Reforge Stones. The 3 most essential ones for PvE are going to be all AP plus 3, the critical hit damage plus 1%, and back attack damage plus 2%. And then the other 2 you can choose based on your preference. You can go for DR for extra safety, and it's also good for PvP. Down attack is also very good for PvP, as heavy skills on our kit have down attacks and down smashes. And also in some spots, down attacks are used. And then finally, you might prefer to go for even more BSR, and you can put in a BSR Reforged Stone. Finally, let's talk about Lightstone sets. Now usually these days, Vicious Shadows is the most standard setup. You're trying to maximize back attacks, so it makes sense to put this on if you're trying to do that. Another option for this class is target openings. This gives you pretty good critical hit damage of 6%. So if you're just trying to do in-your-face damage and you don't want to worry about constantly repositioning for back attacks, you might want to go for this. Your efficiency will be close to Vicious Shadows, if not the same. And finally, if you're under the cap, you can always go for all out attack for the extra AP and reach the cap and become more efficient. Well, we've reached the end of this guide. I've tried to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. If you want to learn more about succ, I have a few resources to recommend. My general gameplay guide for succ is still pretty up to date, and it'll give you in-depth general information about the class. To learn from me and other Draks, don't forget to join my Discord community. I'll also be linking a few fellow Drak Friends. Don't forget to visit them, like them, and subscribe to them. And finally, you can join the Drak Discord, but be aware that place can get pretty dark very often. Hope this guide is very useful to you. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.